West Tigers fans, they got a big win today against the Newcastle Knights. Here we are for another coach's report with Coach Adel Hage, and also Mr. Bashara has joined me this evening. Before the boys get into breaking down that game, please give us a follow at West Tigers Life on all the socials, and please give us a follow and a like on the YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We're trying to get all of our outlets, all our socials and our YouTube up to 2005 followers in 2025. So please, we're charging towards that. If the Tigers keep winning games, we'll definitely make it by the end of the year. Without further ado, let's bring in. I'll bring in Mr. Bashara. How are you this evening? We've just been at the Orange Grove Hotel this afternoon. It was a great afternoon watching the boys get the win. Plenty of friends of ours rocking up as well.
The Orange Grove Hotel is turning out to be one of our lucky places to watch West Tigers games, Josh. That's, I think, 2 out of 3 we've watched there. 2 out of 3 wins. So it's a good. We beat the Dolphins there. We lost to the Broncos, and we won today. And it was a nice little crowd. Not too many people there, but like we had 6 or 7 people join us, and really appreciated their support and input. Obviously a little bit nerve-wracking whenever we're playing. You know, this was a must-win game today, or I think our 3rd must-win game, and we've lost 2 of the previous ones. So it was really good to get the win, and I'm excited for what this team's building. We're building a foundation on defence, and it's the right way to form your foundations. I just think there's a lot of positives. We'll get into it deeper. Sure, the attack's clunky, but really lots of positive signs today. And personally, I think it's one of the most brutal defensive performances we've ever put on in a West Tigers team. That we weren't just defending; we hurt them. It was effective. It was full of vigor. It was a team to be proud of today, and I hope everyone that watched the game. You know, I'm sick of everyone saying the other team isn't good. The other team isn't good. We're a good team, guys. We've just got to sort out our attack. Which, like Adel always says, if you're scoring 20 points and your attack's clunky, something's going right. So very excited. I'm really keen to hear what Mr. Adel Hage has to say tonight. I want to see that big beaming smile and all the positivity raining through from Queensland.
Welcome in, Adel. Thank you again for joining us.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, it's good. Always nice to be here on a winning night talking to Rob. It's always very, very enjoyable. But yeah, that was a satisfying performance, to be honest. Obviously, there wasn't something there. You know, you don't get many highlights out of that sort of game, but that's the kind of thing that I think we've been missing. You know, you don't want to go backwards, but we've been missing the last couple of years of being able to win ugly. We've always been able to pull out a performance here and there where we've looked like we look $1 million, but today was one of those ones where we attacked the game with our defence. One of the things we've talked about is our line speed, and it was really evident today. And I think the biggest thing, and we'll break it down a little bit more, is, you know, of our starting 13 today, I thought if you wanted to rank them from the best player to the 13th player, I almost think our 6, 7, and 9 were player 11, 12, and 13 today. I thought everybody else sort of did their job really, really well, and I think our halves, our spine, I mean, I don't put Jareem in there. I thought Jareem was outstanding, but yeah, our halves and our hooker sort of weren't at their best today. And I think, yeah, that's a bit why our attack isn't looking as good, but that's okay. That's for them to continue to build their combination.
All right. Speaking of elite halves, I'm going to step out and let Rob Bashara be the Jerome Luai of this show and get into the nitty gritty. And I'll see everyone Wednesday night live from the Orange Grove Hotel when we break this game down and preview the Easter Monday game against the Eels. Take it
All right, Adel. Well, look, we maybe got off to a kind of slowish start today. You know, obviously our first try came in the 19th minute, but I really thought it was a decent arm wrestle the first 19 minutes. It always seems this way when we play, Adel, but I really felt the first try was important, not just for us, but more importantly to dent Newcastle's confidence a little bit. And they kind of had a little bit of the better play in the first 10 minutes, but eventually, you know, we hit the lead and kicked on from there. But what were your thoughts on the first quarter of the game, for example, the feeling out period, as most commentators like to call it?
Yeah, I think there was an emphasis from both teams about completing early. Both teams completed their first 6 sets of 6. We were the first team incomplete, but we looked like we wanted to play a bit more football than they did. I think they, not to talk about them too much. I think their coach, their plan today was very negative, and obviously their lack of personnel sort of had a bit of an impact on that. But I think we were there to take the game early, but found the right balance between not trying to sort of come up with $1 million play in the first 5 minutes, but completing our sets, building a bit of pressure, having that little bit of discipline early in the game. Um, I thought we started okay, but yeah, I think with a little bit of that came the fact that their lack of quality and their ability to sort of not when they were building pressure really well in the game, they didn't have that experience in the halves or that efficiency in the halves that allowed them to capitalize on that. And credit to us, basically, as soon as we got our opportunity, we took it with both hands. So, yeah, you're right. Like, it's one of those things where you sort of sit there and you go, well, what did that first 20, 25 minutes look like? But what it did look like is we completed well. We got a really good lesson early in the game. In the first set of six, we kicked the new winger, McCarthy, and then Greg Marzio on tackle two actually takes a carry and makes about 20 metres. And then for the rest of the game, we just kicked the Marzio, which is the plan that every other team in the last couple of weeks has been showing. So, that has a big impact taking him out of the game early on, so he doesn't take that tackle two carry, which allowed us to win field territory. And then, when the errors started to creep into the game, our class shone a little bit. And we'll go through the first try in a second, but good start. And put us on the front foot.
Given how we attacked Newcastle in round one, Adel, were you surprised at how much we focused our attack on Newcastle's left edge? I thought pre-game like that was a pretty solid left edge, but they might have been susceptible to a kick behind, which ultimately Buller found him out with. But I was really surprised with how much success we had going to their left edge. And, because obviously round one, we hardly shifted the ball to Fata Ape and Taruva, but today we went there quite a bit. Even without the scoring plays, there are a couple of near misses there when, Toa flicked the ball inside and Newcastle offside. We had a few close calls down our right-hand side.
Yeah, I think what I've learned is Jareem likes to play shape on the right side. So he prefers it on that side. So I think that's where we're trying to find the balance. He's got that beautiful right foot step that you don't even see coming. I also thought there was a plan to target Marju. Like, that to me was one of the things that was pretty evident. I had a crack at our coaching staff last week about a few things, but I think the planning around attacking that right edge today was really, really good. That first try, and if you go back and watch it, you can tell that was a plan. And going back to the game against Canterbury last week, when Marju knew he was getting bombarded, he was just dropping back on tackle 5. So if you go back and watch that first try today, you sort of hear it's Tito's voice. As soon as Galvin catches the ball, you can hear him scream, "He's back! He's back! He's back!" Which basically must have been the pre-plan that if he is sitting back and he's waiting for the kick, well, let's run the ball and let's attack it. And they executed it. And obviously the other one they realised is, Kalen wasn't doing the traditional role of sitting at A. I know I'm stealing a bit of our thunder for a little bit later, Rob, but just to sort of explain that right edge, we figured out a plan to take them on that right edge, and we'll break it down a little bit more in a sec. But yeah, I think there was a plan basically.
Well, let's talk about that first try in the 19th minute, mate. I have not had the chance to rewatch the game, although I had planned to. Got home and my cinema's being taken up by one of my children, so I wasn't going to kick him out. But I have had a quick look at the NRL.com 4.5 minute highlights. Having watched that first try again, mate, I found like it was a great try, but it looked like we really didn't have much space there. Looking back at it, it was quite a brilliant try because it looked like we were running out of room, but everyone executed perfectly. And then Taruva's finishing, my God, what an elite finisher he is.
He's world class. He's you can argue whatever you want with him. He's already earned his value in whatever we took to bring him across from Penrith. He's just an elite finisher. That's the basic fundamentals what they were able to nail there. The ability to go to the line, play that block shape, Jareem to straighten for that touch of a second, Stafford to then pass the ball at the correct time. If he held it a step longer, probably Bradman Best gets to him. if he passes it a little bit earlier, I think Taruva doesn't get the same space. So they nailed the fundamentals of running through the catch pass process of that really well with their shape. And then it's Taruva's finishing ability. But like I said earlier, you could tell that was a plan that they knew that if Margie was going to sit back, well, we run it there on tackle 5, which is what they did.
Well,
And again, if you go back and watch it, you'll hear Tito's voice. As soon as the ball gets played, you'll hear it in the background. You'll hear someone yelling, "He's back! He's back! He's back!" That tells me that it was a plan. They'd pre-planned it, and they were waiting for that to happen. So big tick to the coaches for that one. And I think Brett Hodgson's our attack coach, so that's something that I'm presuming him and Benji have come up with. So yeah, really good one.
well, that felt like a really important try to get the ball rolling. And obviously, in the 27th minute, Stafford Toa goes in for a try. Talk us through this one, mate. I want to talk later with you about Lockie Galvin. Obviously, like there were some notable poor moments, but geez, he had a good game. Like it's kind of weird that the clangers are real clangers, but I just don't feel like we're going to score unless Lockie or Jerome Buller are involved in a play. Like I just don't see Jerome having the ability to create like Lockie creates, and Lockie threw a beautiful ball to Stafford Toa. But you talk us through how you
Yeah,
saw that try.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think the pass was a good pass. I think it's a pass you've got to be able to throw at this level. I think again, I'm giving credit to the coaches on that. That was you can the different names for what they do, but it was a V line. So basically, Stafford was trying to run that inside shoulder, but at the last second, sort of bounces on the outside of Bradman Best. So I'm guessing they've identified something there. Yeah, I'm not going to agree with you on that, Robert. I don't think Galvin had a good game at all. I don't think him, Luai, or Uppy had a good game. And that's something we'll talk about a little bit later. But you'd expect someone to go to the line and throw that pass. And I know I'm being pretty harsh, but
You're
you'd
being
expect
very
them to
harsh.
nail that pass at that level. Yeah, and to nail that pass at that level. But I thought it was a beautiful line from Stafford to so if you watch it again, they'll show that end-on angle where he looks to run the typical lead line, and then at the last second he changes his angle to the outside shoulder of Bradman Best. So yeah, it's a soft try. I mean, if you're the coaching staff of Newcastle, you're pretty disappointed. But the other thing we've learned about Stafford Toa is his dynamic ball running is one of those things that he can break the line pretty easily. So yeah, it's a great pass. It's a good pass. It's a pass that you should be able to execute. Um, but I think it was pretty poor defending and good individual ability from Toa.
Well, then a few minutes later, mate, we always talk about Jerome Buller being out of position a lot defensively and stuff like that. Jerome Buller didn't put a foot wrong today, but Jerome Buller kind of pulled Kalen Ponga's pants down with a beautiful grubber kick with no one home, regathered and scored. Thoughts on that try, mate?
Yeah, it's a tough one. And I've had this conversation with people a lot around fullbacks being out of position. What people got to understand is a lot of the times this is pre-planning from coaches, right? So they ask a lot of the times you get fullbacks, you tell the fullbacks where to be. So one of the things when I coach, I want my fullback, doesn't matter who we're playing, to be in the defensive line whenever you're inside the 20 at a defender, because it allows you to cover both sides. To me, it looked like they just decided that if Dream's on the 4 short side and they've got Galvin and Luai on the open side, well, Newcastle thinking that's where we're going. So Kalen's gone around. They've got their numbers correct, which they did correctly, and he's sort of creating the extra man and ready for the extra number where you expect them to go. What you sort of say to your team there is if Buller wants to pull out a play and is good enough to do it, well, you tip your hat to him. But what he's done today is he's told teams moving forward, if you're going to create the extra number on our long side where Jerome and Lockie are, I'm going to punish you down the short side. So, and to be fair, we've never seen that happen before. We've never seen Jerome come up with a play like that before. So, if you're an opposition team, you can understand why you wouldn't train for it or you wouldn't prepare for it. So to me, Kalen's not out of position there, and it's the same thing with Buller. Like fullbacks are told where to be. There's so much detail in what you do pre-game. You're sort of talking about teams' indicators, what teams' natural shapes are. In this situation, don't go and sit on the short side or worry about the 4 on the short side because we need you to be that extra number because they run their good shape going the other way. So that's sort of how it works in those cases. So he's not so much out of position. It's we dare you to go the right side with Buller, and we've called the bluff basically, and Jareem's nailed the play. Where did you want Kalen? The question is, where do you want the opposition fullback to be? There's 70 meters of space from sideline to sideline. He can't be everywhere. If he's sitting there looking to defend Buller and they go left, and he's not there to cover defense, well, you say, well, what's he doing too far infield? So yeah, I mean, as much as you can sort of sit there, to me, it's you give Jareem the credit for being able to execute the play. That's sort
Oh,
of the way I see it.
I certainly am giving him the credit. I'm just kind of referring to the round one game. Jareem wasn't there, obviously, and Kalen Ponga's work behind the line was brilliant all game and saved him a couple of tries. And it was just great from our, well, as you said, coaching staff. Hopefully that was from the coaching staff to identify that and to incorporate that. And look, we've seen early kicks. We saw Galvin put a kick on tackle 0 last week against Brisbane. Like, the boys are backing themselves. It doesn't have to be the last tackle to put a kick in. It was just really good to see Jareem Buller take the game by the scruff of the throat and say, look, this is on. I want to explore this, and it came off. And obviously Adam banks the kick off the post. He didn't have a good day with the boot today, but he banked that one. We ended up going in 14-0 at half time, Adel, but look, we had about 2.5, 3 minutes on our own try line just late in that first half where we defended them really well. I mean, I guess you can talk about the whole 80 minutes with this aspect, Adel, but I want to know your thoughts on how did we shut Kalen Ponga down so well today? Was it the fact that Kalen Ponga's halves combination are a hooker playing at halfback and a fullback, a winger playing at 5'8", and there's just no what's the word? Like, there's just no continuity or creativity amongst that pairing, or was Ponga just out of sorts, or what did we do right?
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
didn't have his
as to
best
how
game.
you saw it.
Yeah, he didn't have his best game. You could tell, as hard as this is to say, and it's probably not the right thing to say, I think that he could feel that he didn't have the sort of capital around him today. And to be fair to him, like, whether you like to admit it or not, he cops a lot of criticism. If he doesn't play well, they don't even get close to winning games. Like, he's a one-man show. I have no doubt about that at Newcastle. So, yeah, but what we did really well is, I think that left edge, there was the moment in the second half where he got Terrell May isolated. Jerome Luai comes up with an unbelievable tackle to stop a try there. That was actually a big moment at 14-0. So, as much as I was critical of saying Jerome up in thing, defensively, all three of them were actually really, really good. So, I'm more worried about the attack. But, yeah, we controlled the ruck really well inside their 20. Jared Sutton decided today he didn't want to give 6 to goes or set restarts. He's a serial component of just giving them away inside the 10. And for some reason today, he just didn't want to give any away, which worked for us and sometimes, but the other times, for some reason, he just didn't want to do it to them. And then, just their lack of ability to execute and dig into the line and create, that space, and our defenders sort of having to make decisions. We were all able to help with the inside help on Kalen when he got to the ball to the outside. So it's good defence by us, basically. It's, a little bit of him being out of sorts, but they will take it. They got to play us in round one without Buller. So,
yeah, I found it really unusual, Adele, because, just as a fan observing Newcastle, when Ponga's like that third man in and it's 3-on-3, that's his strength. He can use his feet, he can go short, he can use that face ball, whether he's on the left or the right side. I probably can't remember more than one instance where Newcastle put Ponga in that situation of a 3-on-3. It was just other guys who just don't have his ability or class in that situation. Whether it was a Fletcher Sharp or someone else, like, that's still a lethal left edge, and you've still got Gagai on the right centre. Like, you can put your grandfather at right wing. Like, when you got Ponga 3 in, like, it's still a potent attack. I just felt we shut them down really well there.
yeah, I think that, as I said to you, right at the start, I think their whole approach to the game was really negative. And I think they've got two selfish hookers when Crossan plays hooker and Brayley plays hooker. Like, those are two guys where you sort of sit there and go, mate, you've got Kalen Ponga at fullback. Your job's to give good service. But, today they tried a lot of plays in and around the ruck. For me, it must have been coming from up top because they were very conservative in everything they did. So that's the only thing I could think of. A little bit of arrogance in thinking they're just going to go straight through the front door with us. But yeah, it didn't work. And yeah, every time Kalen got the ball, he got it really deep. He got it with our 3-man, which is where he likes to crowd on the outside of, being able to square up on him, which means basically the lead runner that runs on your half or your 3-man, they're not being taken out or drawn away to give Kalen space on the outside. Our defense was able to defend the back row, but then also go square up on Kalen to leave it as a 3-on-3, like you said. Whereas normally he likes to get it to a situation where he's outside that person, so he's more like got it a 3-on-2 with the support coming from the inside, but he can use his speed and his skill. But yeah, we defended really, really well today in their good ball.
Well, from a purist point of view, Adel, the second half was, quite scrappy and ugly. The tries probably aren't really worth talking about. I mean, Adam's try comes off a drop ball from Newcastle. Jerome picks it up, gives the ball to Adam, and we score. And obviously, they unfortunately again get a try in the last minute. I don't think it's through much fault of our own. That was a bit of a desperation play from them with a kick, and perhaps Taruva could have knocked it dead. But I want you to talk about our defence and what you thought of it, because obviously we've copped 3 spoons in a row. But even if I go back the last 10 years, and I'm going back to when we come 9th and 11th and some of these places, had some near misses in the finals. Personally, I have not seen our defence be so brutal. When we were tackling them, it wasn't just completing the tackles. It was hitting them with force. It was driving them backwards. This was a different West Tigers defence to one that I'm used to. Am I just being really biased here, or did you see it the same way?
No, I don't even. You know what? I think it's the attitude around our mongrel and about our. We just didn't take shit today, and I loved it. I love the fact that we stood up for each other. I seen Jareem get in Phoenix Crossland's face when he got whacked by Samuel Afinu. Like, I'm a little bit different to other people. Like, to me, people talk about excuse my French, the shit in Jerome's game. I love it. Like, I'm sick and tired of us being that team over the last couple of years where we just cop that from other teams, and we don't cop that anymore. When Stafford and Dane Gagai got in it, our boys were in there. They weren't getting in there to push and to pull blokes out. They were getting in there to make sure that their blokes were not going to stand over our blokes. This is the sort of mentality and the sort of attitude which one earns you a little bit of respect, but also can put some fear in opposition teams. And that's something we've never done. We've never put fear in oppositions. Our opposition teams outside backs think they can carry straight through the middle of us with no punishment. And to be honest, like, had parts of this season where we've shown a bit of that, but you're right. Today there was a lot more intent in what we did. I thought we attacked the football a lot more, especially when Marju carried the ball. I thought there was a big emphasis on our contact was hitting the football because he's obviously his grip and his ball carry isn't good. But I agree with you. Samuel Afinu, you're going to ask me in a second who was the best player. Samuel Afinu was the best player. He attacked the game with his defence, his ability to attack the game defensively. And I know Fanua come up with a few good shots, but when Samuel Afinu hit today, he wasn't catching blokes, he wasn't tackling blokes, he was hitting blokes. And again, that takes a little bit of the impact of when they carry the football. Hey, we're a type of team that sometimes gets rolled. I tell you, when you're an outside back carrying out a yardage, and all of a sudden that if you carry the ball, you're going to something a bit more physical coming your way. It takes about 10% out of your carry. That's an extra 10% that will win on the contact. That's 20% less of what they're going to carry normally. So, no, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that I'm a West Tigers fan, but even watching other games, I can't remember a team that just kept turning over so much ball early in the tackle count and deep in their own half of the field. And that was just a real pleasure for me. It was almost like they were intimidated, because every time they ran, we had 2 or 3 blokes in the tackle. We were driving them back. Look, I definitely want to talk to you about a lot of the individual players there, because it's funny how we all see the game differently. Admittedly, I couldn't really focus too hard because we had quite a few friends watching the game with us. But firstly, before we get into the players, your thoughts on the interchange today? What was positive about it? What was negative about it? Namely, the fact that we kept Appy on, till the second half and played him through and took him off, and he never came back on the field in the game. We used Royce Hunt differently. He came on in the first half, he came off in the second half, and he went back on later in the second half. Just your thoughts overall on the interchange. And I mean, obviously we won, so it was all good. But do you think we pulled the right reins in terms of trying to keep Appy out there while the game was not locked up yet? And what did you think of Royce Hunt's performance, which, I mean, I think it was really good, but also the use of him through our rotation?
I think what it shows is that Benji's not stubborn. I think it shows that he's open to sort of changing what the plan is. I think too often we sort of have these things where coaches are stubborn and want to stick to the plans of what they normally do. But it looks to me like they're sort of allowing the game to play instead of coming up with a plan. Even Fanua played a little bit bigger on his first hint this week. I'm pretty sure in previous weeks when we haven't had an injury early, he's come off a little bit earlier, whereas today they kept him on a little bit longer. But even like the timing of when he come off the first change, he pulled off two really good tackles, and you could tell that was the moment they said, okay, we'll pull the trigger. And when Royce Hunt and Jack Bird, it was a double change for him and 12. So, yeah, look, I'm never someone that's going to criticise interchange because at the end of the day, like, how do you nail the interchange? Like you sort of come up with a plan and you hope that it comes well, and you can't plan for injuries or blokes coming off for HIA assessments and all that sort of stuff. So it's really hard to get interchange right. I love the fact that we haven't been, it's almost like it's an opposition now. You can't say, well, we know that 30 minutes. Let's attack the last 10 minutes before half time because that's when De Silva's coming on. Because we've just shown this week that that's not necessarily the case because he played through that period. So it's the ability to be able to not be predictable, I guess, in what your team's going to look like and the makeup of your team's going to look like because that's how you can plan for things. So yeah, no, I don't. I love the fact that they're not sort of fixed on one mindset in regards to what our rotation looks like, and they're sort of allowing the game to play, which is really good.
All right, I want to talk to you about all 17 players today, but without doing them in order, I'm going to let you have the floor and tell me what you're unhappy with about our 6, 7, and 9. I certainly didn't see it that way with those three players. So I'm really curious to see if you can persuade me as to why you think in certain aspects of their game they were poor.
It's the responsibility, Rob. That's all it is. It's the fact that they are our 6, 7, 9. Being in those positions is a responsibility, whether they like it or not, and they both know it. And if you probably haven't watched the press conference, I think Benji had a dig at them. They talked.
I haven't seen the presser, no.
Yeah, and Jerome was sitting right next to him, and Jerome nodded when Benji said it. He thought our attack was really average. Obviously, that's important. At the end of the day, your fullback, your 6, 7, and 9 are most responsible for your attack. So it's the responsibility of what's expected of them, basically. I thought Lockie, he needs to start to. He needs to start understanding that there is more parts of the game being a half than just being able to, run the same sort of things all the time. So especially when he runs that shape on the left side of the field, he sort of takes away a lot of space. He doesn't straighten up as well as others do, but that's the evolution that we'll find with him. It's a little bit of like what Jareen did in his first year and the next year, but you've seen this year that he's become really good at getting on the back of shape and then all of a sudden squaring up really well and then creating the numbers where I don't think Lockie does that really, really well. He sort of almost takes away people's space on the outside and his default is to run the football, which I don't think is a negative. But it's probably a little bit of identification of that sort of stuff. I think he kicked the ball dead twice today, and this is the thing I told everybody last week is, we can't sort of be negative when he gets it right. Then all of a sudden we get the shits when he puts one dead or when he put a couple dead today. But where I sort of look at that is I say to them, if they're not, identifying that from a half's perspective is if their winger, and that's the indicator as a half, if their winger is sort of sitting on his heels, well, run the football, don't kick behind him. If he's coming up like Cobbo did last week, well, that's the indicator to kick him behind. So that's the next part of his game, to sort of almost slow his brain down while the game's going on so he can sort of start making decisions and almost adjusting to what the opposition are giving us. I think Uppy, it's not criticism of Uppy. I think it's they don't know it, and Jerome said it in the press conference. I think they don't know. They're four very different players. Uppy plays with this different type of tempo. Whenever we're playing out of dummy half, a lot of attack lead runners are missing their timing because of his ability to almost stop in the middle of the play. And what that's doing, it's holding defensive teams up. But our guys are not sort of adjusting to it. So I'm almost being a little bit critical of him because of the fact that others around him aren't sort of adjusting to his tempo when he's playing out of dummy half. And then Jerome, well, I think Jerome needs to start running the football a little bit more. Listen to me sounding like a bloody expert, but that's just my opinion. Like I think if he, but then at the same time I say that I listened to him talk about after the game to Brad Fittler, and he sort of said to Brad Fittler, I just want to get Lockie and Buller into the game, and I'll sort of just direct them around the park. So I don't feel like he's going to benefit us by him just sitting back and playing as the half, just directing us around the field. I almost want to see him sort of take the game on a little bit more in how he plays a little bit more direct, because I think that's his strength. I think there's been a couple of times there where he's been the ball player on that left edge and the four-man has been a bit lazy and he's sort of run the shape instead of running the ball himself, because I've seen him do it before. So, yeah, that's the criticism for me, and the criticism is the fact that it's their responsibilities. What we know is when our shape looks good, Rob, we're going to give them the credit. So when it doesn't look good, well, I think they're all man enough to accept that's on them.
No, that's fair enough. And look, if I had to break the game down into two halves, I would say our attack in the first half was 5 out of 10. And I would say our second half was 2 out of 10. But at the same time, I do see a lot of positives. Like, let's talk about Coruscant, for example. I know we didn't have a bad player, Adel, and I think like our whole back line was really good. We had a lot of good forwards. But honestly, mate, it just seemed to me Appy was getting our forwards on the front foot. Or other than that, it can only be that the Knights have a really shit forward pack. But I thought Appy's first 30 minutes was outstanding. I really did. I thought he controlled the play. He got us up the field well. He took he ran from dummy half a lot more earlier in the game than he has in previous games. So, and I'll be straight up, mate. Actually, if I was giving 3-2-1s, I'd give our front row the 3-2-1, and that's just like Appy is a 1 point in a photo finish from Dream Buller. I just think our front row is magnificent.
I'm sorry, and I should have probably clarified this a little bit more. I'm talking about our good ball attack. I'm specifically talking about our good ball attack. Our best players were Samuel Alafonu, Terrell May, Fanua Pole, Jareem Buller, and obviously Uppy, and even the Talon come on. Like you could tell there was an impact. There was an idea that whenever we were coming into that out of yardage and around that halfway, we're just going to penetrate in behind their rucks, and both our hookers did it really, really well. So I'm not criticising them from that perspective. I'm criticising our good ball attack. Like we run good shape 30 metres out from our own line. We run better shape there than we have down the other end of the field. So that's the part, and it's not. I'm using the word criticism. It's not criticism. It's the responsibility. It's the ownership. That's why I'm saying it the way I'm saying it, because, and I'm saying it because I want us. I'm thinking big, Rob. For me,
no, of course.
When you're a coach, you're approaching this like, how do we want to look at playing the Melbourne Storm, who are the best team in the comp? Is what we're doing today good enough to beat the Melbourne Storm? I don't care about making the 8. The 8's not good enough for me. I know Benji enough to know how he's attacking it. Like I know in and out, externally what he's saying is one thing. On the other end, it's like, no, we're going to go take the game on. We want to be the best team in the comp.
Okay, I'm sure even the players know it themselves, and obviously Benji knows it. The coaching staff knows it. You see it. I see it. Our halves need to run straighter. They need to square the attack up. And, for someone like Jerome Luai, I'd love him to straighten up. And when he wants to do that step and go forward and bring your ball runners into the game with you, I just feel like whenever he steps back inside, suddenly everyone's got to get out of the way so that he's not running behind a player. It just looks so clunky. But taking away that good ball attack Adel, I thought the kicking was really good. I know a couple of balls went dead, but like we put those bombs up to Ponga a lot of times and Marju, where especially Ponga, he'd have to catch the ball lying on his back basically. So we're not getting any kick return meters from him there. The energy Jerome brings, you know, with his attack, with his line speed, I'm excited because, to put it simply, our attack's really poor. We scored 20 points, and if I look at that scoreline, 20 points to 4, I don't think it does us any justice. I think that should have been like 36-0. We absolutely dominated them in so many stats. I think we had something like 500 run meters more. I think I've got some of the stats here. We ran for 1,976 meters. They ran for 1,498. We had 212 runs. They had 165 runs. We completed at 78%. They were at 67%. Time in possession, we had 31 and a half minutes, or 31 minutes and 52 seconds. They had 23 minutes and 58 seconds. Everything else is reasonably even, except post-contact meters. We had 663. They had 487. Line speed, sorry, not line speed, play the ball speed was pretty much the same. 3.36 for them, 3.46.
Well, it wasn't. Well, it wasn't, Rob. That's the thing I'm critical about. Let's not talk about referees. How is it possible that their play the ball speed was quicker than ours? It's not possible. And that was because for some reason he just didn't want to. He allowed. They had zero. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, they had zero penalty, 6 against for ruck infringements for slowing our ruck down. Zero.
Yeah, they had. I think altogether they were awarded 2 6 against for whatever they were for, and we had 0. But I don't know what those infringements were for.
Yeah, it was no. We got awarded 2 for slowing the ruck down, and 1 for Jerome being inside the 10. They got 1 for being inside the 10, and never again. And if you go back and watch the game, they were so slow. But look, I'm not disagreeing with you. And I think, to reword what you were saying, it wasn't our attack was poor; it was our attack shape was poor. Our attack actually was pretty, like our ability to carry the football, and we carried it really strong, and we sort of created some things. To sort of elaborate on the Jerome thing when he steps, right? This is the next part of our game that needs to be adjusted. It's our ability to capitalize on second phase. The moment we get an offload, we don't know what to do. That's where it looks even more clunky, when everyone's sort of standing there. I listened the other day about Jerome Hughes was on 100% footy, and they were talking about Harry Grant, because Gus Gould always says that they play with a hooker and 3 fullbacks, basically. And he sort of said the way we start our game fundamentally is when Harry goes, we all run. One of the things you see a lot about Melbourne is Munster, Hughes, Pappenhausen. These guys are scoring a lot of tries in support play. I think that's the next part of what we need to get better at, is when an offload comes and Lockie starts to move, Jerome and Jareem just take off and follow him. Same thing when Luai steps back on the inside. Galvin no longer becomes a ball player. He becomes an extra runner, and he pushes into a gap, or Jareem push into a gap. Because if you go back and watch Jerome do that at Penrith, you see that. You see him step, step, step. Everyone says, go straight. But what he does is he'll step 3 people. He'll look for the lazy defender, find him, and Dylan Edwards or someone like that would hit a hole, and Jerome would just tip him straight through a gap. So that's the sort of thing he'd do at Penrith, where our blokes sort of go, what are you doing? Well, this is the sort of stuff you got to start to learning, because Galvin does the same thing. When he gets an offload, Galvin doesn't get an offload and tip it to someone. Galvin gets an offload and thinks attack. So what does everybody else do? They sit back. So that's the next evolution of our game. Is Terrell May had 5 offloads today. Fanua gets offloads. Alex Twal's been getting an offload in his game. We need to start training, and I'm sure they're doing it, for what do we do off an offload? How do we play off an offload? Because it's a strength of our forwards that we are not capitalising on, and I think that's the next part of what we do.
You've spoken in the past, Adel, about the ball playing, and you've mentioned some of the better ball players in the comp, like your Adam Reynolds, your Jerome Hughes, even to a lesser degree, Latu Fainu, just how they're not always at 100 miles an hour. They're kind of like they'll change their pace with how they run to the line and what they do. Correct me if I'm wrong. I saw an improvement today in Lockie because you've probably mentioned it before. Lockie gets the ball and everything's at 100 miles an hour. I saw a more deliberate ball playing off him. So I didn't see him get the ball and just think run and run at 100 miles an hour. I saw a guy being a little bit more deliberate, picking his moments. I actually felt like it's just something that, maybe today was the first sign of that type of development. Am I over reading that or not? Because it didn't look like he just got the ball and went like Roadrunner. He just looked like he had a lot more control.
Well, to answer your question, Lockie Galvin had 23 runs for 198 meters today. So I agree with you when he ran the ball a lot. When he's at first receiver, I agree he's learned to create tempo a little bit better. But the moment he's a tail runner on any block shape, his tempo doesn't slow down. It's still today. It just does not, and that's where the default is to run. So I think he's learned the first part of playing as a first receiver a lot better. But the moment he's a tail runner on any sort of shape, his thought process is to run. Now I don't think that's a negative because Cleary does it. When Cleary becomes a second or a tail runner on a block shape, he runs a lot. What the evolution of Galvin's game is when you do it, the closer you get to the line, the more you've got to start to straighten up a little bit. Whereas he just goes sort of in one direction and crabs to the outside. It was the try when, not the try, the situation where I don't remember who it was. Anyways, it was the first time he kicked the ball dead in the first half. And if you go back and watch it, if he actually straightens up and he just gives Adam the ball, yeah, Adam's a big body. It's I know it's 1-on-1
Gagai.
with Gagai, but Gagai's on the back foot because of the fact that Lockie's coming at him. So if he just straightens that half a step on the 3-man and he gives the ball to Adam with Gagai isolated, them going backwards, very hard to stop from 5 meters out. He kicks it and it goes dead. And I'm not being critical of the kick. I'm actually being critical of him being able to straighten out that one step. That's all it takes. And Jareem does it really well now, and you can tell he's improved that because he never used to do it. So to me, I'm not judging Lockie. We'll judge Lockie in 2 or 3 years' time when he's 22 years old and he's still not even anywhere near his peak. But I'm just saying that's a big part of his game he needs to improve on.
Well, mate, we had a lot of good performers, as you mentioned. We've touched on Taruva already. Give us your thoughts on Buller. And while you're thinking what you're about to say about him, mate, 173 metres, he made 6 tackles, none missed.
Yeah, Jareem's a class fullback. To me, he's almost looks like our most important player at the moment. If you took him out of the team at fullback, I think for as bad, not as bad, but as lack of potency our good ball attack looks like at the moment, I could only imagine what it looks like if he wasn't there, and we seen that in round one. So yeah, he's just class. He's dangerous. He puts fear into the opposition when he's on the back of shape. Added a string to his bow today, sort of being a first receiver on the short side and attacking the play. He actually did it one time where he did it and threw a pass. So, I think he hits Stafford-Toa and they do a good job to hold Stafford-Toa up. So he's shown that he's got more strings in his bow than just being a ball running fullback. He can kick for himself. He can pass the football. He's going to get better and better. He's a freak.
Gerard Skelton, mate, he had 140 metres. Had a very unusual stat. No offloads, no line breaks, no tackles, no missed tackles. They must have been scared of running at him or something. I thought he was really good in his 48-minute stretch. Do you think that hamstring now is going to be worse than what it was originally?
Don't know to be honest. The good news is when he had it, the ice on it was the lower part of the hemi. So that's the good news. If it's a high strain, it's really bad. So that's what I reckon it is. For all we know, he could be back next week. It might have just been another twinge. It happened to Adam Reynolds in our game when he played the following week. Look, I don't want to over exaggerate this. He played 48 minutes, Rob, and he had 14 carries for 140 meters. Our wingers don't do that in a full game. He is so important to us in the modern day of having that obviously Tito does it for us as well. But in the modern day of having that outside back that can carry the football like that for you, he's so important to us. And I think you're going to ask me a little bit about his replacement next later, but he's a massive loss. If he doesn't
We,
play,
we can
it's a
talk about it now, Adele. Who
it's
do you think will come in?
has to be Nathan. Has to be Nathan. I mean, to me, it's a straight swap. Brent Nathan's played a grand final on the wing. I know he plays centre and wing, but yeah, to me, it's a straight swap. Good under the high ball, experience, which is important in our team more so than anything else. Yeah, to me, it's a straight swap. He showed some good signs in the preseason. I mean, we seen him in the All Star game. His speed is outstanding. He's still very, very quick. It's a no brainer that Nathan just comes in on the left wing, big body. He's good out of yardage as well. So yeah, that's a no brainer. And I'm actually, to be honest, when the injury happened today, I forgot Nathan was back because I checked the New South Wales Cups thing a bit later, and yeah, I was pretty relieved. Even though to me it's still a big loss not having Skelton there, but yeah, I'm pretty relieved that we get Nathan back next week.
Let's talk about our centres. Adam Dewey. I think Adam's had a few good games this year. For mine, I think it was his best game this year. 142 metres, 10 tackles, 2 missed. I know it's only 10 tackles, Adele, and this is the part that I like the most. In the first half, he really made sure he got involved. He came in and did a bit more work, and his tackles that he did make were quite effective. I'm just seeing a really good version of Adam Dewey, and to this day, he's still got a lot of critics. I don't know what it's going to take for them to be happy, but your thoughts on Adam's game? Maybe you saw it differently.
Who's criticising him?
Mate, you just see stuff like coming through the socials. Same old people criticising the same old people. Adam, Adam shouldn't be there. We need a new centre. It happened this afternoon at the OG. One of the boys was saying someone was complaining about him. I know you can't keep everyone happy, but it just seems like he's the target. Look, if he's not playing well, I can half get it. But when he's playing well and he gets targeted, I think that's really poor. I think he's putting a lot of effort. I mean, sure, his goal kicking wasn't great today, but isn't it good when things don't go our way and we're still winning comfortably? Like normally we miss goals, like last week, we lose. We miss goals today and it didn't matter. Didn't matter that the ref didn't give us a 6 again. Didn't matter that we missed 3 or 4 goals. It's just a team that's building its foundations on defence, and whatever else happens is just a bonus.
Yeah, we live in a society, Rob, where accountability is not given to people with opinions. So basically, someone can sit there and criticise a player, and then when that player plays well for 4 weeks, you don't hear a word out of them. When they put out one bad performance, they'll turn up out of nowhere. And we have people start of the year calling for Heath Mason to be our fullback in front of Jerome. Let's be honest, like with all due respect,
Fair
not
enough.
everybody understands the game. Like, yeah, he's a professional. That's the way I'm going to describe what the start of this year has been for him. He's been professional. He's played centre. He's played winger. He's played in the halves. He's done everything we have asked of him. I'm yet to think. I can't even think back to a game where his centre is out. He may not have dominated his opposition centre, but I don't see a game this year where his opposition number has actually been better than him. He's done a good job. I don't think he played the full game last week against Tony Staggs, did he? As in at centre, but I can't recall one centre. Who did we lose to the week before? At Campbelltown. Who did we
We
lose to?
lost to New Zealand. Yeah, lost to the Warriors.
Yeah, but if you reflect on that, I don't think Adams, the right centre for the Warriors, didn't sort of beat him 1-on-1. So yeah, that's a ridiculous take. I think he's professional. He's not doing anything to set the world on fire for us, but we don't need him to. You look at our team. What we need is someone to play left centre, could do a good defensive job on their right centre, do his role for us. He had over 140 metres carrying today. Thank you, Adam. That's all we need. Like, we don't need anything more.
You've said previously, if we get the version of Stafford Toa from Leichhardt a couple of years ago and get that consistently, he's going to mean a lot to us this season. He had 116 metres, 1 offload, 1 line break, 14 tackles, 1 missed. I thought he was outstanding today as well, Adele. How did you see his performance?
Well, while you're doing that, I'm actually checking. Stafford Toa's 25 years old, Rob. If his best is about to come. Well, he's not even. He's 24. Hasn't even turned 25 yet, mate. His ability is better than a lot of centers in this competition. But the problem is we have those lapses, right? Benji said something very important in the press conference, and that sort of tells me there's a lot more to what we know about Staffatoa. He said when fully fit, and that was the key word with Staffatoa. So, and he's had some lingering injuries over the last couple of years where he's played injured quite a bit. So I think it's the fact that you want him to be fully fit and have quite a bit of football under his belt. He said in the press conference that he can do things no other centre has been able to do. And coming from Benji, that's a big call. Like Benji's played in teams. He was with the Broncos with Hodges there. Was he there with Hodges? Not sure actually, but he played with some real world class centres. So for him to make that call, it's a big call. So I don't know. There could be something spectacular about to come from Stafford because some of the things, like you said, some of the things he can do. You know, there was times today where he made Bradman Best look ordinary. Forget the try. There was a couple of other occasions where he got him. He sort of brushed away from him and sort of used his footwork to win the contact and create a quick play the ball off the back of it. I love what he did with Gagai. Not going to lie to you. I thought Stafford was a little bit of a reserved character, but you know, that incident with Gagai to me, you know, if I'm his coach, I'd walk in there and go, mate, next
Adam and
week you're
Stafford.
playing. You know,
Sorry, go ahead, mate.
sorry, you go, bud.
No, I was just going to say.
No, I was
I
just
think
saying,
they're.
like, if I'm his coach, we're getting
Yeah,
each
go,
other.
mate.
No, I was sort of saying, you know, if I'm his coach next week, mate, every week your battle, you won that battle with Gagai today. Every week's a new battle, and if one of them gets up and pushes you, I nearly said the F word then. You know, grab him by the throat and stand up to him again. You know, you don't let nobody intimidate you because you got to go out there and you got to be the best centre in the competition for us every single week. And yeah, I loved seeing that about him today.
Yeah, this podcast is used to F words, mate. And I can't wait to get the criticism for interrupting you like I get every second week from some wanker out there. I was just going to say that, like Adam and Stafford, to me, they're two different centres. I don't see, even though Adam's a big body, I don't see Adam as a sort of centre that's got much penetration. Like Stafford really has that penetrating running style, but Adam makes up for that lack of penetration with his IQ. I just think he's such a smart footballer in everything he does. You know, we saw that try for Galvin against Parramatta, just the way he ran down the sideline in half a second, put that ball on an angle to execute the infield kick off the outside of his right foot. I just think he's a really smart player, mate. He's not a natural centre, as you discussed before, but he's the sort of player you put him anywhere, he'll work out a way to get the job done.
I also think there's a trick that I've always think that we miss when he plays centre is remember when Manly had Jamie Lyon in the centres? They used to do this thing
Yep.
on tackle five where they tip it to him and he'd kick, which brings the opposition up and thinks you're going to run the ball. I think we could use his kicking game a little bit there as well, especially on that left edge where Jerome gets the ball around halfway. You give it to Adam and he sort of can kick him behind them. So that's the sort of thing that I think they can use him a little bit more of as well. But yeah, mate, that's our best 17 that we put out there today. Like regardless of what anybody says, you know, I know we thought about Naden in the preseason. I think Naden's a winger. So to me, that's it. Unfortunately, he doesn't sit in our best 17 at the moment. He'll do the job for us next week, but I think that's our best 17 we put out there today. In saying that, I just bloody thought of Latu Fainu. I don't agree with what I just said. Sorry to sound like a hypocrite, but you know, Latu's in our best 17. But yeah, that's a pretty good team.
Is it a bit harder for, like what you're suggesting, for Adam to kick a ball or something? Isn't it a bit harder to do that on the left wing? Like I'm pretty sure Jamie Lyon was a right winger, so he didn't have the defence coming at him, so it might not be as easy in the left wing. Let's get on to these forwards, mate. I'm going to leave the blockbusters for the end. Maybe we can talk about Twal, Seyfarth and Samuel Afenu in the one breath. Twally, 87 metres, one offload, 28 tackles, none miss. You got anything else to say on Twally besides the fact that he always falls between a 6.5 and a 7.5?
No, and that's where we want him to be. We want him and Seyfarth to do their job, do it well, no errors. You know, just be the ones, the workhorses for us. That's we don't want anything more, anything less from those two. Like that's the truth. Sometimes if you simplify somebody's job and take a little bit of the pressure away from them and just tell them this is what we want from you. This is our expectation of you. We don't expect you to come up with big plays. Now, I call them role players in teams. That's all we need from those guys. So keep doing that. We don't need the big numbers from you because we've got Fanua, we've got Terrell, we've got Sione Finu. These guys are our power runners. So the fact that Twali had 87 and Seafath, he's obviously he's not
63.
someone that's going to impact. Yeah, he's not going to impact the game defensively. I don't have a problem with that. Like it's basically not what we're paying you to do. Twali had 30 tackles, didn't miss a tackle. That's what Alex Twile does. He plugs the middle of the field for you. So that's why he's important for us to start. That's why he's such an important component of that starting team with Fanua and Terrell being able to sort of create that bit of punch through the middle. So that's for those two guys. Samuela, I already explained it. He gets my 3 points. Today I thought he attacked the game through his defence in everything that he did. And today's one of the first times I actually seen him starting to get a little bit more of a combination with Jerome. And I think that's just going to get better and better every single week. And then, the front row, like you said, were outstanding.
Well, let's talk about him individually. Fanua Bole, 178 metres in 53 minutes, 23 tackles, 3 missed.
Superstar.
Mate, this guy's just getting better and better, isn't he?
Superstar. Absolute superstar. He'll play for New Zealand. I'm pretty sure he qualifies for New Zealand. I think that's what he'll be in New Zealand. He has to be a New Zealand front row. I mean, they've got a really good front row, but he'll be in and around the New Zealand squad. He can't play Origin because he's from Melbourne. He's a superstar, man. I think he's got someone who complements his game in Terrell playing for us at the moment. But Fanua's an absolute superstar. He's only going to get better. Let's punch his age in and sort of see what he comes up as. I think he's only like 23, isn't he? He was in the flag when I was there 3 years ago, so 23 he'd have to be. He's 23 in June as a front rower. Like, what are we talking about here? We're talking about a kid still in the front row. Like, he's a superstar, mate. He's going to be, if him and Terrell are our front row for the next 4 or 5 years, which is what I understand the plan is. Good luck. Thank you for coming.
Well, Adel, if Fanua Bole is a superstar, I'm really looking forward to the adjectives you're going to find for Terrell May. 70 minutes, 156 metres, 5 offloads, as he said earlier, 31 tackles, none missed. He might not be the best player in our team, Adel, but I feel like he's the most important player because it's going to take 2 quality forwards to replace his output if ever he's missing. Just talk us through his performance today.
He's the leader of our pack, is probably the best way to put it. And I think he enjoys that alpha role. I think what he's also created is a little bit of off-field bonding. And this is a bit weird to say this, but I don't know whether you know this, Rob. He's got his vlog that he does. So I still think he's having an impact off the field as much as he is on the field. But and he creates that little bit of, there's a focus. You've got to focus on him. So when you're playing as an opposition, you must focus on him. You must say, he's the challenge. We've got to stop him first. And if that's where the focus comes, well, then that allows Fanua to have more of an impact as well. So it's the perfect 1-2 punch. He's the leader of our pack. He's the leader we've been looking for from a front row perspective for a very, very long time. And, we've always had guys in the front row that, can do a job. We've never had a world-class front rower. I mean, Woodsy, when he first started with us, was a really, really good front rower. And his best years were with us, whether he admits it or not. I'll tell him to his face if I see him. But, his best years were with us, right? So, besides that, I don't know. Even if you go back to sort of the glory years, let's call them of 05, it was Toddy Payton, Gibbo.
Scando.
Who else was there? Scando. Like, these were toilers.
Yeah, LaFranchi.
These weren't Terrell May alpha big dogs. That's what Terrell May is, and he's the leader of our pack. And you can tell the boys love having someone like that in front of them, and then we'll just go on behind him. He's not intimidated by nobody. He loved the fact that he left the Roosters. Like, who leaves the Roosters? I know the narrative was they got rid of him, but he went, yeah, sweet, see yous. I'll go to
Yeah,
the West Tigers. I'll create my own legacy.
I might have a look at all the other starting prop combinations in the comp, Adel, before Wednesday and just see where I think this tandem of Bolle and May sits in the comp, because they've got to be at least top 5. They might even be top 3. I mean, off the top of my head, you probably, they're not going to match Haas and Carrigan. And I mean, on a good day, maybe Fisher Harris and Barnett is a lethal combination. I'm not sure who the other prop is with Canberra at the moment with Joey Tarpanay, but I think these guys are right up there, mate, especially with the output they have.
Yeah, I agree, mate. It's, like I said to you, I think I said at the start of the year, the core fundamentals of what you want our team to look like, the base of it, we can't complain about our front row and our spine. That's the truth.
Now, I know you've talked about Appy in good ball situations, which wasn't so positive. I'm going to give you a chance to talk about some of the positives of Appy before I get onto the bench. What were your thoughts on the rest of the game?
No, screw him. He's shit. I don't like him.
I'm editing this part.
No. Look, it's hard for me. Like, it's bias. At the end of the day, it's hard for me to talk about him. But yeah, I don't know. Look, I said to you at the start of the year, he's too selfless with what he does for us. I think, I actually think our attack should be more around him, and we should control a little bit of what our tempo looks like with shape coming off him. And it looked like today we actually started to do that. The start of the game, a lot of our shape was coming off our 9, but it looked a lot clunky because people were missing their assignments. I think Samuela and Seyfarth, was more Seyfarth on the right, just missed their timing so many times when up he sort of showed the ball, because he shows it and he stops. Like, you've got to be really good to understand what he's doing. So, yeah, mate. Yeah, I'm biased. I can't. I honestly, like, I know it sounds weird, but I just can't, because I can't find the negative in his game, to be honest. I think.
Oh, he says you're full of shit anyway, mate. So that's all good. I think we've lost you, Adel, or have you lost me? Hello. It must be me. Josh, you there?
Yeah, no, Adel's frozen.
Adel's frozen. Okay, well, I'll
Adel's
shoot him a text
frozen.
message,
Yeah.
mate. So where are we at? 1 minute and 2.
Yeah.
Just let me shoot him a text message.
Oh, he's dropped back in. He's back.
It must be the annual once a week it happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's all good, mate. We'll just get Josh to clip that out. It's only about 40 seconds. Yeah, so you were glorifying or about to glorify our mate Appy Coruscant, but you reckon you're a bit biased about him?
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard for me to make a judgment call on him, but because I just think there's not much wrong with his game. But yeah, the only thing I think I said, I don't know whether you guys got it, was one thing I do have learned about him. He's become very, very, takes it very, very hard on himself when we lose, because he takes that leadership role with a lot of responsibility. So he takes it really hard on himself, and I know he doesn't want to miss games, so sometimes he does play a little bit bunged up, which he has the last couple of years, which not many people know about. But yeah, I think he's loving having talent there as well, which is good.
Well, question without notice on Appy before I discuss Talon. Appy's contract is up at the end of next year, so end of 26. Do you see him wanting to play on maybe on a year-by-year basis with us? Or do you think he'll call it quits? Or you don't want to answer it?
No, I don't think he'll be leaving our club.
Okay, well, that's a good thing, I guess. Because, he's the heart and soul of everything we do, mate. And even in our wooden spoon years, I think he's been our best player for the last couple of years, even though other guys have got the awards for it. Talk to me about Talon, mate. He wasn't on for very long, 23 minutes, but I thought he did his role well. How do you see it?
Yeah, really good. He's providing what we sort of need from him. I love the role so I sort of think I'd prefer this sort of rotation with him. One, it takes away, we only use one interchange instead of two. So I like that part of it. Because in the last couple of weeks we have been left a little bit short with interchange. So I do prefer it to be done this way. I also think that at stages through the year, I actually think they should start Talon and bring Uppy on after 20, 25 minutes and let him play the rest of the game, which doesn't sort of work for Talon too much. But if you recall, in Uppy's last year at Penrith, they actually did that in the last couple of rounds and into the finals where Mitch Kenny started and Uppy come on and played 60 minutes, but pretty much at the 20-minute mark. So I think that at some stage through the year we might do that as well, as a part of Talon's growth and also taking a little bit of sting out of the game. For Uppy's perspective, because if that's going to be the minutes they're playing anyway, well, you can be a little bit versatile in how you do that. He's just got to know. It's like, I was talking to someone about AFL today about the sub guy who comes on. When you come on and the 20 minutes to go, mate, you're coming thinking a run, and the game's opening up. Just get on and run, and Talon, that's his strength. So, yeah, really good job. I love that role for him. I think that's the role we should sort of roll with in the short term. And like I said, potentially down the track is we're looking at a small period where you might be able to go, all right, let's start Talon for a couple of weeks.
Royce Hunt, mate, he busted out 36 minutes today, which is definitely his biggest output on any game this year by at least 6 minutes. Had really good numbers. I think 76 metres, 17 tackles, maybe one missed. Really good job from him today. How did you see it? Did you see it the same way, or did you see it slightly differently?
No, I agree, but that's the thing I said to you. Like he's going to play good when we're on the front foot and we've got more possession. Like as long as we're doing that, he's going to be an impact player for us. And I think that's where the rotation and the interchange is really important. You've got to be able to have a feel for the game as a coach and go, okay, well, this is the time Royce comes on. Because last week he come on in the second stint in the second half, didn't he? And they put Sione in front of him. So I think today Benji sort of sensed that we were on the front foot and got him on a little bit earlier. So, yeah, he's an asset to us. He's an asset to us. As much as he's not going to be what Terrell and Fanua are, he's going to be able to, take a little bit of steam out of the opposition because tackling him is not easy. So he's going to be able to take a little bit of their juice out and spend a bit of their petrol in the back end of halves. And he carried really well today. I thought I was really, really impressed with him. And we've seen that he's got the effort plays because he showed it against Parramatta early in the year. So yeah, he'll get better every week as well.
And apologies to Royce Hunt. I said he missed a tackle. He didn't miss one tackle. So he's had a clean sheet there. So well done to him. Mate, Jack Bird, he's just so vital to our team, isn't he? He didn't quite get, the middle role today. Unfortunately, Skelton got injured in the 48th minute, and we had to do a bit of a shuffle to get Jack to play at centre. What a purchase he's been, mate. He doesn't let us down any week.
Yeah, this is going to be my controversial opinion for the week, Rob. I think Jack Bird should start on the right edge. I think that you still have Seyfarth on the bench, and he will come on at some stage during the game. But I think that Jack Bird should start on the right edge. I think that's the best version of us because of his experience, his ability to be able to. Yeah, I just trust him more when he's on the field for us. I sort of trust our team a little bit more. We're talking about an Origin level player here. I understand the versatility in him, and we've been able to put him on and play that 13 role. But Terrell May's shown he's been able to play that role a little bit for us, and he's been a bit more of a link as well. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I know that you don't want to sort of tamper too much with what we're doing, but I sometimes don't want to also be left short. I'm starting Jack Bird in the back row, and then if something was to happen, you just put Seyfarth on and Bird can cover any versatile role. Or you can just change that rotation parts during the game and push him into the middle if you need to, and then put Seyfarth on in the back row. But I think Jack Bird should be our starting right edge back rower.
I respect your opinion, and I understand your reasons for suggesting that. I got two things where I disagree with that. I think the punch he gives us off the bench would be a lot better than what Alex Seyfarth does. I think he just has a lot more vigor, a lot more grunt in his runs. And secondly, and this is just me maybe worrying about him given his history of injuries and what have you, I don't think he's an 80-minute player anymore, mate. I know he could do a job on the second row, but at some stage he's going to get busted. He's going to get injured. I'd rather he plays the 35 to 50-minute role from the bench. And I think when he's had to play out of position or out of that bench rotation, I think we've suffered. But I get what you're saying. I'd love to have two of him. If I had two of him, sure, have one at the second row, one off the bench. But I just think, given our bench, I just like him on our bench. And if things go bad like they have in a couple of games this year, yeah, we can shift him to centre, we can shift him to right edge, we can shift him left edge, wherever he needs to play. But look, it's great that he's got that versatility, but for his longevity's sake, I really think we're best served using him on the bench. But again, I could be wrong and you could be right, but that's just my opinion on that.
I agree with you that he's not a long shift player as a middle, but as a back row, I think he is. I think that's the difference. The other thing I'll say to you is, and this has been proven, the more minutes you play, the actual less chance you get of getting injured. Like if if your body is consistently up to playing longer minutes, as in someone in his case, you're probably less chance of getting injured. So I don't necessarily think of it from that perspective. The other part is I'm not looking for him to be the impact for us. I think Sione's done a good enough job to be that person for us off the bench. So where he becomes a part of that rotation, and so far it's not coming on as a middle forward. He's coming on as a back rower, and that's where I sort of say you can then move Jack Bird. But look, this is me. This is my opinion. At the end of the day, it's you got to make a big call to make those sort of changes. So yeah, it'd be tough to sort of make that change. But I just think potentially in the back end of the year, that's something we might have to do because I want him on the field as long as possible. I get it. I understand why people would be scared of him being on the field for 80 minutes, but I think his experience will get us through. Yeah, I won't speak negatively of another player, but yeah, I just think that in the long term, I think he's going to be the better option for us. I think that right edge back row spot is a weakness for us. It's a target and it's a weakness. So yeah.
The last man of that magnificent 17 today, Adel, Sione Fainu. He was only on for 24 minutes. He had 92 metres, 8 tackles, 1 missed. They found him hard to stop at the back end of that second half. I think he's just getting better by the fact that he's had to play a couple of games with some decent minutes. I think he played 50 minutes maybe the week before last when we lost Samuela against New Zealand. He had to bat out a lot more minutes, but we're seeing some quality now out of Sione Fainu.
Well, again, like it's crazy to think Sione is turning 24 in July. Like, and he only got upgraded, so he's on a bargain contract. Like, everyone talks about all these other contracts. To me, it's Sione Fainu, it's Terrell May, it's Fanua Pole. They're my three priorities. And I'm sorry, I get the whole Galvin situation. They're my priorities right now. Like, I'm locking them three up. Because whether you like it or not, someone like Sione Fainu now, someone is going to pick up. Now, he has been upgraded for 2 years, so he's with us till 2020 in the 2026. But come November 30 this year, there's a couple of them. I think Terrell May only signed for 2 years, so he's in the same boat, is he not? Like, to me, this is our priorities. No, he's on a 3-year deal, so he's with us till 2025. I'm just going to quickly look at Fanua because these are my priorities, Rob. As hard as this is to say, because obviously we all fear the whole Galvin situation. They've got to be the priorities while ever it's not in the media. Like if you can just get those deals done and lock these guys up, well, then all of a sudden you're sort of sitting there going, there's your front row rotation locked up for the next couple of years. Fanua's actually coming off the end of next year. So again, November 30, he's off contract. So I'm sort of sitting there going, can I just double check this with Fanua? This is actually, yeah. Oh no, he's with us to the end of 2027. So he was end of 2025, and then he extended 2 years. So that eases my mind that Fanua and Terrell are here for the next 2 years after this. But Sione's not on much money. I don't think it's going to take much to say, hey mate, you want to stay here with your brother, with your brothers who are both signed for another 2 years. We'll give you a little bit of an upgrade, and then all of a sudden, you've got your 3 front rows locked in for the next 2 years. It's a pretty important piece of the puzzle, because he's only getting better and better every week, and he's 23 years old. Front rows don't peak till 27, 26, 27, they say.
I want to talk to you just finally, basically, about what you think our prospects are for the year. We've played 6 matches. We're 3-3. I think we've got quite a nice little run coming up, potentially with Para, Cronulla, and then I think St George in Magic Round. We could have been 5-1. When do you think the negative talk will completely stop? And I'm going to steal something that one of our friends from the Orange Grove said today, young Mick, who came up to me. He goes, when Canterbury won last week against Newcastle, they won 20-0, and like they're the best thing since sliced bread. They're undefeated. They've got the best defence, whatever. We were basically 20-0 till the last minute of the game today. But a lot of people are going to say, oh, Newcastle were depleted. They're shit. They're this, they're that. When are we going to get some recognition? Do we have to go on and win 4 games in a row like I think we really can?
Yeah, I was just literally going to say that. The difference is the Dogs are 5-0, and then obviously off the back of last year. So it's the consistency over a long period is the key. Where do I think we can go this year? The honest truth is, I think we can make the top 4. I think we're a good enough squad as long as there's no injuries. This is the key, and this is any team that makes the top 4. Like, unless you're Melbourne and Penrith over the last couple of years, where your depth is ridiculous. Yeah, if Cronulla have a couple of injuries, they're not making the top 4. If Brisbane have a couple of injuries, they're not making the top 4. So, besides those 2 that have been at the top, and obviously we're seeing what Penrith are going through at the moment. Besides those guys, Canterbury's the new team that can cover. They've got Gus. He built the Penrith system. So, as long as we got no injuries, we can make the top 4. I have no doubt about it. Like, there's no ifs or buts in my opinion, because I've watched our football. I've watched the sort of thing we can provide, or present. Sorry, with no attack. Let's be blunt here. With no attack shape. Sorry, with poor attack shape. So I think we're a top 4 side at our absolute best. I mean it, like, with all my heart. We're a top 4 side with our best, everything going our way, no injuries, touch wood. Where do you think is the pass mark? Well, we got to make the finals. And if you want me to break it down for you, we've got 6 games coming up. We've got 6 games coming up to play, and in between that, there's a bye. So there's, we've just gone 3 out of 6. If we can go 3 out of 6, another 3 out of 6 with a bye included, that's another 8 points. That puts us on 14 points after 13 rounds. Then there's another 26 points left in the year, possible 26 points plus a bye. You go 50% in that, or above 50%, well, that's another 14 points. 28 points makes you in the 8. It's very realistic. There's no reason why we shouldn't. And what we do know is the back end of the year, we play a lot of games in Sydney. We get a lot of home games. Like I said, without injuries, there is no excuse from our end. And we showed last year that we will fight. Even when we were a chance at the wooden spoon. I know there was the spoon bowl and what happened with all that, but we fought all the way through last year, and we are a much better football side. We're a tougher football side. We're a more resilient football side. We're a appropriately more arrogant football side, which I like about us. So, yeah, the pass mark is to make the 8. If we don't make the 8, it can only be from injuries. It's the only reason we shouldn't make the 8 this year.
Yeah, I'll add to that, Adele. The experts seem to say it every year, but I truly believe this year is the most even comp. Like, you might want to separate Melbourne, like, above the pack and being head and shoulders above everyone else. I just think a lot of the so-called bottom teams are going to beat the better teams and vice versa. I don't think this comp's going to break up like someone like Cooper Cronk said. Cooper Cronk said in the next 10 weeks, the good teams will sort themselves out from the bad. I think all these teams are capable of sort of going 50% for the next 10 weeks, and the comp is in really good shape. I think it's going to go right down to the wire, and with a fortnight left in the comp, I still think there's going to be 12 teams at least vying for the top 8. And I think we're in a really good position as well. One thing I do want to touch on, Adel, and you don't have to go too deep into this. You mentioned about like trying to get our halves to play straighter and not run our outside backs of room. Like, let's just hypothetically say they all know that at the club, like the coaching staff, the players. Is that something that can be fixed during a season, or is that something that needs an off season to be fixed?
No, it'll evolve. It'll evolve as the season goes because you get more reps, your education, your training, and the combination in particular will be the key to that. Again, if you go back and listen to today's press conference, Benji was pretty open. He said that we're dealing with Jerome who prefers to play and has played all his life on the left, and Lockie who has played all his life on the left and prefers to play on the left. And then you got Jareem who sort of prefers to hop in sort of certain moments, and then he's got his own creative style. So very, very important for us to sort of figure out what the balance in all that is. But yeah, my habits. The key is you're talking about, and I'm talking more. Look, I think Jerome plays pretty direct. I think it's more about his running is the key. He's thinking about running. Lockie's the one that sort of goes a little bit more sideways than he should. But that's because he's 19 years old. Well, has he even turned 19 yet? Like, he's a kid.
Right.
He should be playing Jersey Flag. Like,
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about here. Or no, not even Jersey Flag, SG Ball. He's still eligible for SG Ball, I think. So that's what we're talking about. So that's why you're not critical. You only you can highlight it and you can talk about it, but it's not talked about in a critical perspective. It's talked about to sort of give everybody a bit of an idea on what the conversations that are to be had with him from a coach to a player perspective is. You keep reminding the player, mate, you've got to straighten up on the back of that tail shape or on that back of that as a sweep runner. The moment you get the ball and you sort of create that 3-on-2 and you see those numbers, just straighten up that half step and you create those scenarios of training for them, and you just hope the muscle memory starts to kick in the games.
Do you think it's going to take longer than a month to get it right? Or is it like 2 months away? I know it's hypotheticals, of course, Adele, but they're all professionals. Like, can we get this right? Like, in a month from now, are we going to be chugging with gas with this spine, or is it something that might just take the rest of the year to figure out?
As long as we get continuity, there's not many injuries and there's no suspensions for those guys. Like, we've played, what's today, round 6?
Yep.
Yep. Benji said a good point. That spine's played only 3 games together.
Do we beat the Eels next week?
We have to.
We had to win today too.
No, we don't have to. We have to, in the sense. I mean, if we don't win, it's not the end of the world. We have to for our own confidence. This is the sort of game where we've got to go out there and just win. Plus, it's Parramatta. We hate Parramatta, so we want to beat Parramatta, and I think that's important to sort of emphasise that. We're playing them at Combank next week, and it's our home game. So, there's a little bit of pride in that. They're down at the moment, mate. Step on their throats. They're coming off the back of a trip to Darwin where they would be absolutely, devastated after getting pumped by the team that's come from the cold to go up to Darwin, and they've been hammered. To me, it's no sympathy, no remorse. You get out there next week and you literally, you double down on them, pound them just as hard as Canberra did on the weekend with as much ruthlessness as we've got. That's a challenge for us.
Well, we've got at least 8 days now to get ready for that game, mate. I'm really hoping that we pack out Parramatta next week, Combank Stadium, and we pack out Leichhardt the week after. And we're a massive chance of being 5-3 and going up to face the Dragons in Magic Round the following week. So, look, Adel, thank you so much for joining us. Before I officially say goodbye, is there anything else you want to touch on or mention that I might have not touched on, or any final words?
No, just bring on Easter Monday.
All right, Adel, thanks for joining us. And thanks to everyone out there who's listening and watching. Join us at the Orange Grove on Wednesday night at 8:30 for our regular podcast with Josh and Aaron. And look, I hope if you haven't got membership yet, guys, join this club, get your membership. Let us hit 10,000. Let's make it work. This is a team really worth supporting, and we've got the right foundations. We've got the right people in the right places, and I think we're a club on the up. So get behind the boys, and we'll see you on Wednesday night.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the West Tigers Life podcast. You can join us every Wednesday night live at 8:30 p.m. from the Orange Grove Hotel. A big thank you to Orange Grove Hotel for their support, as well as iChoice Home Loans. If you want to hear more from the West Tigers Life podcast, go to westtigers.com.au. That'll be our link tree, and you'll find links to all our social media, and you can sign up at our Patreon at patreon.com/WestLife. Join us next time on West Tigers Life.